12 jurors and 2 alternates are set in the manslaughter trial of Kim Potter, the white former Brooklyn Center police officer who killed Daunte Wright, a 20-year-old black man, during a traffic stop. The jury will hear from both the prosecution and defense when they give their opening statements next Wednesday, December 8th. Potter claims she mistakenly drew her gun instead of her taser when she shot and killed Wright. Now she's facing first and second-degree manslaughter charges. Still with me is former prosecutor Leslie Ricard Chambers. All right, Leslie, let's talk about the racial and gender makeup of the jury. There are 6 white men, 3 white women, 2 Asian women, and 1 black woman. The 2 alternates are a white man and a white woman. This case has an obvious racial component, as the defendant is a white cop and the victim in this case is a young black man. The racial diversity, Leslie, as you know, on juries is necessary, not just to minimize bias, but for the perceived legitimacy of the jury. Should this be an issue, especially after we just watched a nearly all-white jury convict 3 white men in the Deep South for the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, a black man?
Well, it's definitely relevant, but also I find that we are moving towards identifying people who have more progressive thoughts, if you will, and so those more progressive thinkers may be more in line with the premises of, Black Lives Matter and defund the police, if you will. And so we've sort of we've seen a shift, not just oriented in race, but also the progressive thinker, and identifying those folks who sort of align with those thoughts. And so even if you think about the jury questionnaires that the judge read from, there were questions relative to how potential jurors felt about either Blue Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter, or the phrasing, those phrases, if you will. And so there was a lot of follow-up on by the defense and by the prosecutors on those questionnaire answers. And so there were white potential jurors as well as minority jurors who elaborated on their responses to those questionnaires. And so it's not just about definitely relevant, yes, that the racial makeup needs to be diverse, but now we are moving towards, I think, to a more sophisticated, more thought process type of questionnaire when it comes to picking juries and the diversity of thought of jurors.
Well, what about the gender makeup? It's split. We got 6 men and 6 women, and we're dealing with a defendant, a police officer who's a woman. We don't often see female officers stand trial. So what do you think that's going to be like for the defense, for the prosecution? Could it be an advantage for either?
I don't know that the gender makeup will be an advantage or disadvantage, but what does come to mind is the fact that she is a police officer, a senior police officer who is a training police officer. And so the question becomes whether or not those men are going to either give her the benefit of I guess what would be considered more sensitivity towards her because she's a woman, or if they are going to really hold her to standards, police standards, the high standards of that police are held to, and as a training officer. And so that I think that the gender in that regard may be relevant to those particular thought processes.
I spoke with the lead prosecutor, Linda Dunikowski, who secured those convictions against those 3 white men who murdered Ahmaud Arbery, and how she did so by strategically approaching the case without arguing race, even when there were clear racial implications, more so than in this case. So should the prosecution use the same approach given the same racial makeup of this jury?
I think that the prosecutor has to. And the good thing about this prosecutor is that he's got experience with trying similar cases like this, obviously, in the state of Minnesota. This prosecutor was one of the lead prosecutors in the Derek Chauvin trial. And so already having that remote experience, I think will give him an advantage, or this team an advantage, on the strategies and the questioning of the witnesses, the expert witnesses, and everyone who's involved here. And so I think that those advantages could offer some enlightenment to to folks on the jury, just in terms of her culpability, as well as this idea of her being reckless, if you will, and just having this blatant disregard for human life, and that her actions, whether she pulled the trigger on her service weapon or the taser, whether or not those actions were still reckless and could have put someone's life in danger, which eventually we know that it did.
Well, speaking of Derek Chauvin, this case is actually going to be tried in the same courtroom where he was convicted. In fact, the fatal shooting in this case happened while the Chauvin trial was going on, just 10 miles away. Do you think that Chauvin's conviction will have an impact on this case, on this jury?
Well, you can't help but to think that that's at some point in the back of the minds of these potential jurors, or was in the back of the minds of the jurors. But I think that the court is satisfied that these folks who are selected can put all of that aside, as well as any other beliefs or exposure that they've had to either this case or the Derek Chauvin case, and be fair and impartial in evaluating the evidence and listening to the testimony in this case. And so I think that, yes, while that may be somewhat of a backdrop, I think that the court is satisfied with that fair and impartial standard that these people have indicated that they can implement when listening to this case.
Last question, Leslie. We know that the trial won't get going until Wednesday. That leaves the newly seated jury all weekend and 2 days next week to think about this case and be exposed to media reports and other information about this case. Should this jury have been sequestered?
I always think that these juries ought to be sequestered, especially in these types of high-profile cases that have received so much media attention, especially with all of the social justice issues surrounding not only this case, but other cases as well. The climate is just too high right now to run the risk of not having a sequestered jury.
All right, Leslie Ricard Chambers, thank you so much for your brilliant insight tonight.